Welcome to A Date with Darkness podcast, where I will be discussing the impact of hurtful and abusive relationships and how to overcome them so that you can move through your pain and get to the kind of healthy relationships you want, need, and deserve. I'm Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed psychotherapist based in California. While I hope that you find this podcast educational and informational, please note it should not be substituted for treatment with a licensed mental health professional. Also, due to the nature of the podcast, some of the information presented on the show can be sensitive to some of my listeners, so please note that listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome back. I'm super excited to be chatting with you guys today. And today I want to take some time. I want to talk about the kind narcissist. And the kind narcissist is a person with their outward appearance and their outward identity is based on, them being kind, them being compassionate, sensitive, good-natured, right? And this is the type of person that often refers to themselves as a good guy or a good woman, and so their whole outward exterior is based on appearing to be kind, sensitive, and warm-natured, especially to the community that they're surrounded by. And the kind narcissist is a type of a covert narcissist. And it's really, in my opinion, one of the more dangerous kind of narcissist because it's someone that you don't see coming, and you might not even see it or experience it until the relationship is over. And I know that sounds very general, and I'm definitely going to specify it a little bit more because it goes much deeper than that. If you're a fan of old Lifetime movies back in like the 90s and early 2000, or maybe NBC or ABC movies way back when, maybe back in the 80s. I think the kind narcissist is what they based a lot of their movies off of. And so the hallmark or the telltale sign in these movies, or what the character looked like, or just sort of the premise of the movie, is that they would typically have a husband who would working 9 to 5, going home to his nuclear family, wife, kids, dog, and they seem to have a happy life. And one day out of the blue, that person would disappear. And they would disappear, or they would have this like presumed death, like they would die, but no body was found, and that kind of stuff. And then years later, the wife would find out that this man is like living somewhere across the country, with a different wife and a different family, and just living this whole new life. Or this person would just the hallmark would be that this person is living a double life, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And typically that involved an entirely different identity with someone else, and something that, that they had sort of been planning and plotting for years, but it came as a surprise to the person that they had been married to, because they were although they appear to be very kind on the outward exterior, they're very cunning and very manipulative in the interior, right? And so I think that's kind of what made Lifetime movie channel what it is today, although I don't really know if they show movies like that anymore. But, it would always be some sort of story where a man would disappear, he would die, he would have amnesia and like wake up somewhere and then be starting this whole different life, right? And that was kind of the premise of those movies, and that I think is based off the kind narcissist. So a kind narcissist, again, appears to be very kind, very unselfish, and dedicated and hardworking. And because they have all of these wonderful characteristics on the exterior, they typically tend to earn people's trust fairly quickly. They garner sympathy, you know, and people seem to really like them because, oh, they seem to be a good person, right? You might hear that. And so if this is a person that, you know, you may work with, this person may appear to be the boss's pet, like they can do no wrong in the boss's eyes, right? But, and, you know, they appear to come to work and actually, you know, they on the surface, they, you know, the boss views them as a good worker, but really underneath that, this is a person that doesn't do any work at all, right? So this is, you know, everybody else, you know, maybe like coworkers may have a negative view because it's like, you know, coworkers that aren't smitten with the personality, but maybe have to inherit someone's maybe have to inherit their workload or maybe get dumped on because of this person at the job. They may have a negative, more of a negative opinion because they're like, I don't know why you guys like this person so much. They don't do their job. And even the job that they do, they don't do well. You know, this person is basically a very good schmoozer, but they don't care about how they impact others that they work with or their work team or anything like that. And so that's how they may appear to be at work. And they can also be, you know, very, again, very cunning and manipulative at work. I remember I've worked with a few, and you see this a lot in corrections, and you may see it a lot even in the mental health field. And then I've worked with one in that he, you know, I worked at a place, and you know, we had like, you know, the place already had like dedicated managers and things like this. So we had like CEO, then management, and then employees, which is typical. And, you know, I think if I remember correctly, the manager who was like running the programs where we were working at, he like took a vacation or something like that. And the person that I was working with took that time to really kind of take it upon themselves to go to the CEO and really sort of schmooze the CEO and, you know, put down the other person who was currently in the management position. And again, this is a person that really went under the radar and just was in the CEO's office every day, bringing them treats, going out to lunch, and really sort of sweet talking and stroking the CEO's ego. And meanwhile, putting down the manager that was out of town. And one of the things that I will point out is the manager had been with this company for years, and this person was relatively new to the organization and didn't really have the credentials to be a manager or supervisor. However, you know, when that manager came back from vacation, I would say within a week or two, he was being told that he was going to be demoted and this other person would be in their position, this other person without the credentials who hadn't, you know, dedicated as much time and really had no experience in management, but because they had sort of schmoozed their way in there, did all of this sort of groundwork and continued to do that in order to get what they wanted. They were able to sort of snake their way into that position, and the other person got demoted. And I just remember how painful that was watching that play out because it was like he was informed, like we were all informed at the same time. And I just remember how hurtful and devastating that was. But the person who had done all that, right, the kind narcissist, didn't think anything about it, and they felt like, oh well, it's whatever, it's warranted. I went after what I want, and so it is what it is, and I don't care how that other person feels about it, and I don't care that I had to, you know, kind of do this. And so it was just like they felt very entitled. So their true characteristics of narcissism came out, even though everyone else, you know, this is a wonderful person, this person is the best person ever. They have a really great personality and we really can't say a bad word about them. What they did was very manipulative, and it really woke the person that they disrespected up. And now that's kind of how that might go at a workplace situation. Now, in an intimate partnership, this person, the kind narcissist, is very heavy on the love bombing stage. So this is a person that might fly out to come see you, might fly you out to come see them as you're dating, might put on take you out and, call you and all the time. And, to the point where you're like talking on the phone and you're like falling asleep together. You're not getting in any sort of conflict. You seem to have so much in common, right? Everything seems to be going so well between the two of you, right? And you really can't say anything about it. You might even be thinking to yourself, this person is the one, right? And you feel like this person is the one because they are, they have all of the traits that you want. And this person, again, is very kind and very sweet to you on the exterior. But what you don't see is they also engage in a lot of mirroring, right? And the mirroring is so like slick that, again, you don't see it. It's like, oh, I like R&B and oh, I do too. And this is my favorite, artist and blah, blah, blah. And they can have all of these conversations. And then later on down the line, you find out that's a totally different picture. Right. And so with the romantic love interest and with the kind narcissist in general, I like to call them a very slow leak. It's a slow leak because you don't see it coming. And over time, that person kind of changes, where they still on the outward exterior, they're kind and you may not be getting involved in this heavy conflict, but what you see is their characteristics behind the scenes start to change. So this is where things like inconsistencies begin to show up. They may say, oh, well, let's go away for the weekend. And then all of a sudden they have to cancel plans, or they don't show up, or things like that. Right. And it's not just canceling, but it's like there's like a discard of canceling and there's not a real explanation. And it might just be like, oh, I'm sorry or whatever, but it's very vague. And you start to see these inconsistencies show up a whole lot more. Um, lying. Lying becomes very pathological. Again, I go back to the whole double lives. And this may show up actually a lot with people who are dating nowadays, where, you may be on a dating website and you feel like you've met a person and they're wonderful. And somehow you find out that that person is married, right? And they're living a totally different life and alive because they never shared with you that they were married. In fact, they may have denied that and may have given you some sort of elaborate story that they weren't married. So again, the lying is definitely pathological. Within the inconsistencies, you start to notice there is a trend of emotionally abusive behavior, right? And that emotional abusive behavior comes in the form of withholding information. And a lot of times that information is life altering. You may be thinking this person is in a relationship with you, but really they're in a relationship with you and maybe several other people, right? And you might thinking that you guys are an exclusive relationship and they're in a relationship with several other people, right? Or finances, you may be thinking that they work over here and they make a certain amount of finances, and then you find out again that those things aren't true, right? So they have created an identity and or alter ego that doesn't actually really exist. This person may be heavy on addictions and secretive about addictions. Those addictions could be pornography, alcohol and substances, risky sexual behaviors, and things like that. And there could be more addictions connections at play here, but they kind of kept them a secret and you don't really know about it because, again, this person presents themselves to you as being kind and warm. They maybe show up as being very attached. Again, in an intimate partnership, they may show up as very attached to their phones because, again, the key to a secretive life or alternative life lies in their phones. At the root of things, they're very insecure. And again, they may even, with a kind narcissist, they may even be able to tell you that, like, I'm insecure, I have social anxiety, or it's hard for me to go out. But the thing about it is they may be able to verbalize that, but they don't really go in depth or detail about it, and they can't, or they're not necessarily invested in fixing it. Or if they share with you that they're invested in fixing it, they may share that they're going to therapy or seeing someone about it, but they're not actually doing any real work. And so that's where kind of like the con lies. Like, they may be sharing that they're doing some things, or they may fake like they're actually doing something about it, but in all actuality, they're really not. Over time, you'll begin to see that this person is extremely selfish and the relationship is one-sided, meaning that this person is really with you for their own personal gain. And again, they're still facing like they're very kind. They may say, I'm apologetic, but slowly they may start to withdraw. Right? They're not showing up for you emotionally in the relationship. There's inconsistencies, there's lies about what's going on. They may pretend or feign like they're very interested in mutual goals that you have for the relationships, but in the back of their mind, they may have entered the relationship purely for their own sexual gratification. Meanwhile, you're thinking that you're in a committed partnership. You're in a relationship where both of you had the same goal, to be working towards marriage. And you may even actually get married and may actually even do all of the things. But this person, again, still lives like this double life and this lie outside of the relationship. And again, I call this person, I feel like this person is very dangerous because they have skillfully mastered the art of a con with a smile. But again, underneath that exterior, they're still the very same types of narcissists that engage in behaviors like stalking. Again, it's you don't see them coming a lot of the time. Gaslighting is very apparent, and that they engage in that. And again, this person is only out for themselves in the relationships and being very, very selfish. This person will also will not do their share of the responsibilities. So again, as I referenced in the career, I want to reference the same thing with respect to family or relationship obligations. So again, while they may be, again, smiling and telling you that they're going to do more and that they're going to do better, or that they regret and they feel bad that they couldn't help you out or be there or show up for you in the way that you needed them to in the relationship. They never have any true intentions of actually doing that. And so it becomes, again, a very rote script. The fact of the matter is they don't care to do that, and they never have any intention on stepping up, taking care of their relationship or family responsibilities and obligations. But they sort of give you this spiel that they hate that they couldn't do that, or they really wanted to, and that they're going to do better. But in reality, they don't, and they don't care to do that. It's all just smoke and mirrors. They're telling you one thing, and they're doing the exact opposite. In fact, that's kind of how they move throughout the entire relationship. Everything, they're doing exactly the opposite of everything that they're telling. And so they're a very masterful liar in that way. And again, they don't have any problem with allowing you to pick up their slack, time and time again, and just sort of making up excuses about why they can never come through for you. Typically, with a kind narcissist, they don't do well in long-term relationships. And again, if they are in a relationship that is going to be long-term, usually they may have other relationships that they're fostering elsewhere because they don't want to do any real relational work. And I think that's definitely a telltale sign there, is that they don't want to put any real effort in. Again, they talk a good game, but they're not interested in putting in any long-term effort. This is a person that's, there for their good time, but not for a long time, if that's how you want to think of it. They may show up and, engage with you for a little bit to maybe have sex and have fun and to get all of the validation that you give to them, right? Because it's all about stroking their ego, and you're eager to stroke their ego because they appear to be so kind to you. But this is a person that may dip out like ghosts, or not be found, or avoid you for quite some time, right? And so again, they avoid doing any real emotional labor or work in relationships. If you work with them, they typically avoid doing any real work at work, but they're all about their own personal gain, and they're very selfish, and the relationship is very one-sided. However, you're not as cognizant of it. And while you may feel like, oh, that kind of upset me that this person didn't show up for me, or this really, grinds my gears, or what have you. If that person paints on a smile and sweet talks you and promises to do better, if you're an empathetic person, you might be more willing to let it go, or stick it out, hang in there in the relationship, or feel more sympathy, right? Because they're good at sort of garnering sympathy, feel more sympathetic or empathetic to their needs and what they're going through. Meanwhile, you're lowering your defenses, but you're also not keeping your boundaries that you have set for yourself. So they're good at helping you. The kind narcissist is good at getting you to lower your defenses and forget all about boundaries, even if you have some darn good ones, because everything is with a smile and the stroke of the ego. And so that's something to remember as you engage with this person. And, just be mindful of, things that are inconsistent, or when a person is not meeting your needs. Don't lower your defenses in a relationship, because the kind narcissist, once they're done with you, or once they've gotten their needs met, they're out the door, and they don't even stop to say goodbye. Usually they get what they want, and then they're done. And that's why a lot of people are usually left so confused, because it's like, again, if you're used to their kindness, you're almost, what you are wondering, like, what did I do wrong for this person to treat me this way, or to leave out of my life? And you're really left confused, because you may have been under the ruse that you had a kind, loving relationship, when really you were dealing with someone that was a completely different person, and very highly manipulative, and skilled at getting what they wanted to get, incredibly emotionally shallow, and very controlling. So they still control the aspects of the relationship, but it's also very subtle. All right, guys, I thank you so much for listening to this show. I hope that it resonates with you. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you can help the podcast grow, I'd appreciate it. Give it a like, a share, a follow. And of course, if you want to be a part of our free Facebook group, you can click join. It's down in the show notes below. The individual coaching sessions have started. So if you are looking for coaching, if you're navigating high conflict, divorce, or situations with a narcissist, and you want one-on-one coaching with that, I'm more than happy to help you with that. So you can click on the link below to sign up for that. Schedule a coaching session. The group sessions are still being worked on. Got some stuff, hit a bit of a snafu there, but we're still working on it. And as soon as we can get that out, we are working diligently behind the scenes to get those wonderful things going. But if you want to be in the know about what's happening with that, be sure and again click the link in the show notes, so that you guys can be part of our launch team and our beta program. Okay, and so until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. Be well.